Good afternoon, everyone. Now we have some tallies after crop losses, beginning cold start, and over a decade rare spring snow blanketing Greece. Orchards is what we're looking at. Icy devastation across Italy, Macedonia, Portugal, snow drifts, United States. Chilly the last few days, going to be chillier in the next few weeks. From Spain to Germany's farmers warning of fresh food shortages. We hear that across the planet. Looks like nothing's going to return financially to normal until Q3 of this year. That's after summer. You might want to grow your own garden. Some of my own results here, microgreens. But a victory garden can be anything you can dream up. Dream big and eat healthy. Posting a video on YouTube urging Americans to keep your money in the banks. And it looks like the banking system could be in for a 10 times larger shock than the housing meltdown in 2008. And it's quirky that if it was such a stable financial system, the FDIC wouldn't need to say a word. With this much inflation on the way, only one investment stands out: gold. Patriot Gold Group has no fee-for-life IRAs where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. At Patriot, you work directly with an owner and avoid paying absurd broker fees. Call today or request a free investment kit. PatriotGoldGroup.com. The link's in the description box below. And following through this story here, Southeast Europe crop losses coldest April morning in a decade arrives during the key blossoming stage, highlighted in blue. They were looking at 100% losses because so much had come out already into the blooming stage. I've been waiting a few days and just compiling images. So this will give you a good indication of what might have been happening across anywhere that's dark blue on this map and further south into Greece. And a perfect example right here, Italy. How do you think the crops are going to survive under this types of ice? Described as a brutal and extensive swath of sub-zero temperatures engulfing much of Europe, ravaging farmers' fields throughout northern Italy, much of Poland, the Ukraine, Macedonia, Poland, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina. That's what the ... is. And looking at agricultural photos in bloom, ice like this is not your friend. This is the end of a season for many growers. Ice and frost damage. This looks like the Tuscan region here. And there's so many of these tweets. I could go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, but just trying to give you a good indication of what has happened. Links are in the description box. You can continue to follow as many of these images as you choose to. Snow blanketing large swaths of central and northern Greece. I mean, it doesn't snow all that much even during the middle of winter. But images making social media of mountains blanketed in snow. You would expect this out of season. Weather systems here in the Grand Solar Minimum intensification. And here we are, orchards, Greece, flowering stage. At least this is snow, not just ice. So these blooms may survive, maybe not. We'll see. Good video at the beginning of the month of how much snow had fallen in Greece. Edessa is where you're going to want to pinpoint on the map. Now, we're pretty familiar with Greece and Italy. How about Macedonia, bordering Greece to the north, Albania to the west, Bulgaria to the northeast? Still not a place you would consider a winter sports haven yet. The early blooms covered in snow, tree trunks covered now. The before and after picture, April 1st, April 2nd. Blooms are out clearly, as you can see. And when I start to look at these palmetto trees, also covered in snow, you know this is a very rare event. And it looks like that heavy, wet snow that's either in the out-of-season spring or the early blizzards that are coming in with heavy, wet autumn these days. So different elevations, different species of plants, same result. And I would ask you the question, where do you think this image is from? Mountaintops blanketed again, Macedonia. And Bosnia-Herzegovina, surrounded by Montenegro to the south, Serbia to the east, in Croatia to the north and the west both. Area we're looking for on the map is right up where Croatia wraps around Bosnia-Herzegovina. In Prijedor. And what do you see here? I see ice damage. This is not coming back. Anything covered in this much ice in the bloom stage, for sure gone. And that's exactly what we saw in Italy and Greece. So it's definitely a large swath of the continent. And then Portugal. And I was just as shocked to see the snow in Portugal as well. I mean, even during the depths of winter, you barely see inches at all, centimeters at best. Drifting snow in mid-April, this is a game changer right here. I mean, these homes aren't even designed for snowfall. Flat roofs, the snow load's not even factored into home building in this country. I think that should give you an indication of how rare of an event it actually is. So all the way from Spain, Portugal, clear over to Greece, Macedonia, it's an all-encompassing event. There's a lot of agriculture in southern Europe. And then looking at the United States, this blob of Arctic air is going to continue all the way to the end of the month. This is just the beginning of it here, April 12th. And if you follow the GSF model out to, April 28th, we're still looking at massive 20 to 30 degree temperatures below normal Fahrenheit. These temperatures are in Celsius here, so obviously the Fahrenheit range is going to be higher on that. So when you do see these articles now off of Financial News, Bloomberg, Financial Times, whatever it might be, it's all about the crop losses and unavailability of food to get to the supermarkets and in the supply chain itself. From Spain to Germany, farmers warning of fresh food shortages. Now, this was pre all of the snow and ice damage that I showed you. There was already a bottleneck in labor, and because of that, at the greenhouses in Almira, for example, there was a lot of produce that was either not harvested or died because it was not taken care of. They're already looking at internal shortages inside Europe, but that's going to extend, and we have seen it. I've done several reports from China to the United States, Australia, and Europe, all experiencing the same problem. The bottlenecks in large suppliers not ordering anymore kicked back into the producers that are pouring out, destroying, and dumping their produce or dairy. That's great now when it meets supply and demand, but when these institutional buyers start buying again, there is going to be severe shortages, and that's going to take months, plural, to catch up with what the institutional buyers are going to be looking for moving forward into the summer. Now, when this happens, obviously there's going to be a financial collapse. I should say financial evaporation. And 7 of the different banks here, I even put this post up on Patreon. I went through 7 different banks when they were considering return to some sort of normal and to positive growth on the GDP. And all 7 of those institutions all agreed Q3. Now, the percentages of increase is splitting a fine hair there, but all of the biggest financial institutions in the world agree that we're going to go rock bottom here on Q2, which is April, May, and June, and then somewhere around July, August, September, we might come out into a return into, I bet a lot of people are going to start traveling again, people are going to buy again, and that's why we're going to see this giant bump. But between now and then, you have a chance to plant a victory garden. 'Tis the season to put those seeds in the ground. Your grandparents did it. It was part of our American culture for more than a decade, the victory garden. People held on to that even into the 50s after the war ended. And you know how in long-term food storage they always say, buy beans and rice. Well, I have 4 different types of beans here. Lentils with a rubber band on top, cowpeas, red lentils, and then bush beans. And I decided to grow these in microgreen trays. And again, being innovative, I took an area behind the garage there that nobody was using and just wasn't being planted, and I converted it into this microgreen tray area. Stays nice and cool. You get some ventilation out of the direct sunlight, and throwing a spinach bed. You can see the dirt's been tilled up in the back there on the next moon cycle. Because moving forward and growing some of your own food, as creative as you can get, it is truly up to you. What you want to grow, what you like to eat, what you think your neighbors might like, what other people do the work for them. They'll be super surprised when you come rock up with a huge bowl of greens and say, hey, would you like some salad or something to eat? Go with the dinner as a side, whatever. But if you grew it yourself, then you might get other people that might be interested to help you also. And when they see that it's been done once and you've done it, might open their possibility range as well, that they can do it too. It's going to be a group effort for all of us to get through this transition and change. I wrote about this in the book Climate Revolution that I wrote last year with my co-author Bill Porter about, well, a year out, the planet was going to get locked down and the economy was going to evaporate and reset into something new based on grand solar minimum crop losses. That's on a regular 400-year cycle. The cycle's predictable, and obviously we're back in it again. Now, this book was written last year, talks about a lot of things that have just happened. And the last half of the book is purely about getting yourself ready for these changes, what you can do by yourself. Again, it's all about growing your own food, what you can do in terms of greenhouses, soil remediation, microgreens, mushroom, anything in between, and how you can couple systems together. It's all about the solutions to the problem that we're facing. And you heard me talk about the central bank posts for Recovery Q3 over on the Adapt 2030 Patreon page. It's an area where I do put up posts and I make videos specifically for Patreon. Things I can't talk about here in YouTube due to the algorithm. You know how it is, so please join me over there. Next video on tap is Ancient History, North Africa meets Dogma, where lakes and rivers seem to be much closer in our history than you've been told. So join me for the next video, and I'll see you then.